Good morning, all. How are my dark artists this morning? I have a lot to say this morning. I was originally going to do a little video about how there's so many of the things from my youth, like tabletop gaming, Dungeons and Dragons, things like that, that are super pervasive, and I love it. I love the fact that there's a whole new generation that is getting involved in fantasy role playing games and tabletop role playing games and things like that. I absolutely adore it. But they come across as this is like a new thing. And while yes, there are new versions of it, I'm old school. Like I remember playing Dungeons and Dragons when you had this thing called THACO. For those of you who aren't familiar, maybe you're familiar with D&D, but you're not familiar with THACO. THACO is an abbreviation. It stands for Two Hit Armor Class Zero. And yes, I realize that zero isn't an O, but I digress. That's what it was called. That's what we all used. And you had to do some serious math to figure out whether or not you, when you rolled your dice, if you hit this guy. And, you know, what's the line? Don't cite the deep magic to me, which I was there when it was created. Yeah, like OG player. Now I know there's definitely older than me, some more elder Gen X people who really did play OG. Now I have played original edition back when your race and your class were effectively the same thing. I have played that. I am familiar with it, but my heart belongs to second edition revised. For those in the know. Anyway, I was going to talk about that, and then I caught every red light on my way into work this morning, and it's a Sunday morning, and I'm like, why are there this many people on the road? And I am 2 days out from surgery, so I have a radical hysterectomy scheduled for this coming Tuesday, and I'll go through phases where 1 minute I am okay and I am fine. The next minute I am not so fine. So my brain is kind of all over the place this morning. And this is more of a vlog, I guess, than anything else. There's so much in the news that I would like to cover, and oh, just so much that I can't seem to quiet my brain. Now, for those of you who know me really well, you know that I do have ADHD. I am really late diagnosed. I wasn't diagnosed until I was in my 40s, mid to late 40s, and had some problems when there was shortages getting the medication that I needed, and it was just all around general just crap show. Also, another thing, if you're driving on the highway and you are going the speed limit and you are in the left hand lane, I'm sure we've all heard this. You're not supposed to pass on the right. I will absolutely do that. But you're not supposed to, and it would be greatly appreciated if you are going the speed limit that you go in the speed limit lane, which is the right hand lane. That's the speed limit lane. The left lane is for passing, which means you go slightly above the speed limit to get around these people. So, yeah. I believe I heard somebody say it best that if you don't have ticket money, stay out of the ticket lane. Nobody wants to get one of those. And hopefully everybody is going the speed limit and only going above the speed limit when you're passing, and only just. So there's that. But I digress even further. Like I said, this is kind of a just stream of consciousness kind of video. I no makeup today. I rarely wear makeup. No filter either. I just am kind of on here, just kind of trying to get all of the thoughts out of here and somewhere else. So I appreciate anyone who is along for the ride this morning. If you have been in that position where you just can't seem to organize thoughts, where you can't even as an ADHD or like even medicated, I can't seem to grab a hold of my thoughts this morning and get them to cooperate. Emotional regulation is going to be rough for me for the next couple days. Tomorrow is going to be lovely because tomorrow I have to work because due to the original symptoms that I had, which kept me out of work for a couple days each time, and then I had surgery to remove my left ovary and a 9-centimeter tumor. Cyst turned out to be cancerous, so I just refer to it as a tumor. I guess more correctly it would be cancerous cyst. Anywho, that all ate up a ton of my PTO, and while I love where I work and they have been very, very kind to me, and I appreciate everything that they do, and I know not every company, especially smaller companies like the one that I work for, don't have the resources to do things like my husband has at his job, where he has both sick pay and vacation time, and he can use his sick pay for himself and for family members, and thankfully he has that. It's not tapping into his PTO, but if he had to use PTO, he could. I just have paid time off, just generally, and I need to use that for vacation, for sick time, for everything. And as it stands right now, thankfully my company allows me to borrow time, so I will have a few days. I had to pay back some borrowed time already this year from last year, and I have some, and thankfully my company offers the gift of time, and I had a wonderful colleague and friend of mine who donated a week of her time so that way I could get the care that I needed and I wouldn't have to be missing out on pay, because yes, there is short-term disability, but because of the way that our pay structure is at my job, I get base pay and other compensation on top of that, and I only get the base pay and a fraction of that for short-term disability. So that's not realistically paying any bills, and I really need to be at work doing my job, and I'm really kind of hoping that I can convince my doctor that I don't have a strenuous job, which I don't. I do have to do some inventory stuff, but generally the guys who deliver my shipments, they're pretty cool, pretty awesome. You guys are amazing. If you ever run across this video, you know you are. Thank you. And if I ask them to put the stuff on the counter for me so I don't have to lift the boxes, they're generally really cool about that, and they'll put the boxes on the counter for me so I don't have to lift them in the previous surgeries that I've had. So, it's greatly appreciated, and it helps me out a great deal. And otherwise it's just walking around helping my customers, or doing the digital end of things, where I'm actually receiving in the inventory into our inventory system and things like that. And it's easy peasy work. I'm not having to put any strain on my core, which is where that surgery is going to happen. So I am really hoping that everything goes well and they can do it laparoscopically, which hopefully will only have me out of work for 2 weeks. When I had my laparoscopic surgery for the gastric sleeve, I was only out for 2 weeks. And by the end of that 2 weeks, I was chomping at the bit to get back to work. I was on light duty for a couple of weeks after that, lifting no more than 10 pounds, but it was totally doable, and I could function. The last surgery that I had, they cut me wide open, and I understand why. From what I gather, it had to be done that way because the cyst was so big that they didn't want it to rupture in case it was cancerous, which it ended up being. They didn't want all of that fluid just kind of free flowing in there, just spreading that all around to my other organs, and my other tissues inside, and you get that. So they had to do what they had to do. This time, that does not seem to be like something, so long as the scar tissue from previous surgeries isn't terrible, they should be able to go in laparoscopically and do it that way, and it's going to be robot assisted, which is really cool. Really cool. I do wish, maybe this is morbid, but I do wish that I could have a video of the surgery. Like, I love watching surgical stuff on the television and on YouTube, and like, I am all into that kind of stuff, and to know that that was me that they were working on would be extra cool. I would be totally down for something like that. And I just think that that's something that should be included in everybody's medical records, right? Like, if law enforcement has to wear body cams, right? If they have to wear body cams and have to be held accountable, I understand HIPAA, and I know that that's a thing, but I feel like that should be a part of your medical file. There should be a video portion for any surgery that you have to have done. There should be a video recording of what's being done. I think that would greatly reduce malpractice rates. And for those of us who are, whether you think it's morbid or not, but for those of us who have this morbid curiosity about what's being done to us when we are unconscious, I'd kind of like to see that. Like, I would 1,000% like to see that. I really wanted to see the birth of my kiddos, and with my second one, I had a mirror put up, but I was in the moment, and there were situations I was losing a lot of blood and ended up going into shock afterwards, but I saw that and couldn't anymore. And I'm not one who gets queasy at blood, even the sight of my own. Like, I've never, but in the moment, because of situations and the pain and the shock and everything else, like, I was down for it. And then I saw what I saw, and I was like, it made me nauseous, and I was like, no, I can't. But I think after the fact, like, had there been a video of it, I think that would have been really cool. It'd be like, oh, so that's when she entered the world. Like, I think that would have been really awesome for both of my kiddos. So, but that didn't happen. With my oldest kiddo, it wouldn't have been a possibility. With my youngest kiddo, while it may have been a possibility, the tech was entirely too expensive for us at the time. But yeah, I think that would be kind of cool. I'd love to see all of that happen, especially like robot assisted. Yeah, like, I want to see that. I know that's gross for some people, so if you think I'm weird, I guess, whatever. I'm also that person who, when they get their blood taken, I can't look away. Like, I have to see it. I need to see that needle enter my arm. I need to watch what you're doing. I guess that's the inner control freak in me. I can't do anything about it, but I need to see it. So, I don't know what that tells people about me and my mental whatevers, but it is what it is. So yeah, I think it would be cool to be able to see the surgery. And I'm not going to be able to. So I went to the Hunterian in London last summer, as a part of a vacation that I took, which is where the other part of my vacation days went last year. And I thought I was being really frugal with my days and had saved up plenty, so that way if I did get sick, I had some days left over, and I just didn't realize how sick I was going to be in 2025. So, or 2026 for that matter. So anyway, I if you're not familiar with a Hunterian, it is not for everyone. It is not for the faint of heart. It is not for the queasy. It is a whole museum that has real, honest to goodness specimens, lots of which are human. And absolutely fascinating. I don't think I spent enough time there. I could absolutely go back again and see things that I know I missed. I absolutely loved it, and I understand there's a museum kind of in the same, like a surgical museum somewhere in Pennsylvania that I would love to go to, maybe Philly, something like that. I'm not quite sure. If you know, let me know in the comments. But there that morbid curiosity of being able to see what's on the inside of me is, and what's on the inside of just humans in general, from a curious mind. Like I'm not a Dexter. I don't want to see that firsthand. Like, I don't need to be in the surgical suite, right? But to see it after the fact, like, sure, like I'm down for that. I love to know how my body works. I'd like to know the proper names for things. I remember the first time I had, let y'all in a secret. So when I was in my 20s, I had a weird growth on my uvula. For those of you who don't know what your uvula is, it is the little dangly thing in the back of your throat. And I remember using the proper name for that particular body part to the PA, the physician's assistant that was initially handling my case. And when I said uvula, this dude just stopped right there at the thing in the most inconvenient spot. Anyway, when I said uvula, they looked at me like I had a horn growing out of my head, and at first they had to look like they didn't know what I was talking about. So I clarified exactly kind of how I did for you guys a second ago. Like, it's a little dangly thing, you know, the uvula, the little dangly thing in the back of your throat. And then they said, "Oh, yeah, no, I'm aware. I'm just surprised you know." And now, this is not the first time I have been made to feel like an idiot. Or not made to feel like an idiot, but treated as if I were an idiot. That's a better way to put that. And the first time was I was dating a guy and I used the word plethora, and he was absolutely just gobsmacked that I knew such a big word as plethora. Like, dude, really? Okay. But this PA was absolutely just blown away that I knew what a uvula was. And anyway, quickly before I need to start my job for the day. So, did this thing, where they were shocked that I knew the uvula. And I like to be able to know the proper names for my body. And I think it provides with better, more informed healthcare. I think if you are able to communicate with your healthcare providers in their language, that will serve you a lot better. Now, do I know everything? Absolutely not. Are there times where there has been medications in my past where I'm like, I don't remember the name of it, or I can't pronounce the name of it, or I don't know what it's for, or what have you, and I need to know these things? Absolutely. But I ask all the questions. So, yeah, like, I, again, rambling today because my thought process is not where it needs to be. So I guess I'm going to stop here and send good vibes. See, there's that emotional regulation thing. Send good vibes my way. You see, the bags today are pretty big. Lack of sleep. Because I can't shut off the brain. I can't shut off the worry.